Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Camille, Aiko. I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. It is, I don't know what day it is. Technically, it's Thursday, right? Because I think it's midnight in Eastern Standard Time. But as you come on, if you're up tonight, go ahead and drop a 1 in the comments. Let me know that you're catching this live. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. And make sure you share this video so that you can be entered into a drawing to win cash prizes, gift cards, and health and wellness products. So go ahead, drop those ones. If you're going to stay on here with me on tonight, we're going to be talking about time management and the myth of time management and how that ties in to the 10X rule. Hey, Jessica, I'm great. Hey, everybody. So before we get into that, make sure you guys are dropping 1s as you're coming in. Let me know who is here, who's catching this live. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. But this is time for us to do our second drawing. So we did our drawing last week, and Topaz won a cash prize. Hey, Catherine. Hey, what's going on, Wilbert? So she won a cash prize last week. I think I'm just going to do a cash prize again. Okay, so I have everybody's name right here who has shared the video. Have everybody's name torn apart, ripped up in the paper. So we're going to go ahead and do our drawing, as I said. Hey, Vernon, what's going on? Thanks for dropping that 1 for me. So I'm mixing it up. You guys can't see. I've had an excellent day today. We took our teens over to Howard University. We did a college tour. We went to Capitol Hill today. We were talking to the legislators about what's going on in our communities and just things that we want to see changed and what they thought needed to be changed. So it's been an incredible day. It's been a cold day, but we pushed through and we are alive. So I'm still mixing up the names. So can I get a drum roll, please? Okay, I don't want to do it too hard. I don't want to knock my phone off the table. Okay, so I'm not looking. Alrighty, Ricky Joseph Demouchette. So listen, that's the winner right there for this week. So Ricky, I will reach out to you. Hey, so Ricky, I will reach out to you. So guys, make sure you keep sharing for your opportunity to win cash prizes, free gift cards, and free health and wellness products. So make sure you're sharing this video so that your friends and family can also get this good knowledge. So if you have not been reading along with us, this is the book we have been discussing together and studying and challenging ourselves to live our life at a better level, right? So even coming on here, I forgot to tell y'all, my name is Camille, Aiko, and I hope that you are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. And so one of the books that we are reading in order to help us do that is the 10X rule. So the 10X rule is making sure that you apply 10 times more effort, 10 times more thought, just 10 times more everything so that you can have a greater amount of success. Give me 1 second, guys. I need to switch some settings on my phone. Okay, there we go. I just want to turn off my notifications. And this can be spiritual goals, mental goals, physical goals, financial goals, family goals, business goals, relationship goals, friendship goals, whatever your goals are. You know, Grant Cardone, who was the author of the book, love you too, Catherine, who is just really making us think differently about some of the things that we have thought about in our lives. So, you know, we've been taught to think one way, and Grant is saying, hold on, wait a second. You know, I used to think that way, but now since being able to have the level of success that I've had, I'm one to tell you all how to do the same thing. And so that's what we've been talking about with the 10X rule. So we are on chapter, I want to say 18. So give me 1 second and I'll confirm that. No, 17. So we're on chapter 17, the myth of time management. Okay. And so I go over just some of the key points. Sometimes I do a lot, sometimes I do a little. All right, so we'll see what we end up doing tonight. Okay, the first thing that Grant says about time management. I mean, first of all, when we think about time management, how many of us feel like there's not enough hours in the day? I just don't have the time to do everything that I need to do. Like, we hear a lot of that type of conversation going on when we think about time management, right? Like, how do I really need to set my time? Like, how are you able to do all of that? These are the questions that we begin to ask. We'll use that. Awesome, Catherine. So it says people who are most concerned with time management and balance in their lives are the ones who believe in the notion of shortages. So we talked before in an earlier chapter about shortages and just limiting beliefs, right? So just feeling like, okay, there's shortage of money. When we've talked about there is no shortage of money. We've talked about there is no shortage of energy. We've talked about there is no shortage of success. There's no shortage of dreams. There's no shortage of goals. We control that. And so what he is saying is that the people who are so concerned with time management are the people who are also concerned with shortages. He says because most don't know how much time is available to them or what tasks are most necessary to accomplish that time. So these are the people who are like, you know what, there's not enough time in the day. As I just mentioned, these are the people who are saying those things that we talked about. Like, oh, I'm just don't see how you get it all done. How do you get it all accomplished? But you can think of some really high profile people who do a lot for the community, who might do a lot for the world. But what we have to understand is that we have the same amount of time that they have. So how is it that they are being able to accomplish what they're accomplishing and we're just living these average lives, not being able to get our head above water, and we're complaining about time? So he's saying these people, us, right, who are saying there's just not enough time, I'm so tired, what am I going to do? We are thinking in the shortage mindset. And we have to get outside of the shortage mindset to think in a thing of abundance. Okay? So the next thing he says is that how do we make success our duty? Because when we're talking about the 10X rule, we're talking about how to apply 10 times more effort, 10 times more planning and preparing, 10 times more thought so that we can achieve greater success in every area of our life. So how to make success our duty. We talked about how to make success our duty, our obligation, and our responsibility. He says, number one, set distinct and definite priorities. What priorities do you have in your life? Have you set them? Do you know what your priorities are? It's funny. Some people say, it's my priority to save money, but then you'll go out and you'll buy whatever comes to mind. It's like, okay, well, every day though, I'm going to buy this candy bar, or every day I'm going to go shopping, or maybe it's not every day, but you go out and you splurge when you say that your priority is to save money. And so we might say things are our priorities, but we're not really executing that in our lives. And that is part of just character. That's part of being a person of integrity for yourself, because you have to be real with you. And that's why we get upset with ourselves, because we say this is important to me, but our actions show us something different. And that's what causes the frustration. That's what causes the friction. That's what causes us to be so upset with ourselves oftentimes. And it's simply because we are not impeccable with our word. We don't say we don't do what we say we're going to do. And so then internally you're like calling yourself a liar. Like, why do I keep doing that? Like, I said I was going to be on time. Why can't I be on time? And it's a matter of you staying true and really establishing what your priorities are. All right. So now the next thing that he begins to talk about, that he says, is spend your time doing things that is going to generate success. In my business, we have things that are called income producing activities. And so with these income producing activities, the focus is do something in your business that's going to bring you in money. We oftentimes spend our time dedicated to things that do not matter, things that aren't going to bring us a return. And so we just feel like we're just going through the motions. And then you feel like, okay, well, it's not worth it. It's not working, but you're not doing the things that you need to do in order to bring in income. So if that's your goal, right? You're in business, you're a business person, then you want to make money. So the end goal should be, of course, outside of helping people, right? But when you're trying to make money, then you need to do things that are going to help you to make money, right? But we can get into a point where it's like, okay, well, I'm doing these things, but are they income producing activity? When is the last time that you had a client or customer based off of that activity that you are doing. So you have to do things that are going to make success. Spend your time in those areas that are going to allow you to create success. Maybe your goal is to spend more time with your family. Well, you can't spend more time with your family if you're always shut up in your room, right? So that means you have to get outside of your selfish ways or whatever it is that you're doing, because maybe you're working, right? So that means you have to stop doing what you are doing where the focus is on you and say, okay, I'm going to go out here and spend time with my family. Why? Because that is going to help you to create success in your goal of spending time with your family. Okay, does this stuff make sense? I know that it might seem basic, but it's often the basic things that we are missing from our lives that are stopping us from achieving the level of success that we desire in our lives. But we have to create good habits of doing these small things over and over and over again so that we can have massive success in our lives. Okay, right, income producing activities. When you are trying to bring in income, when you're a business owner, you need to be looking at, what are my income producing activities? What's that song? Why don't you do what you want to do when you say you, right? Right, it's like we say we want to do one thing, we do another. Now it is time for us to make sure that what we say and what we do align so that we can have a greater amount of success. Absolutely, Catherine. Darren Hardy, compound effect. All right. Yes. Okay, so let's move on to the next point. He says the real question becomes to ask, how can I have it all in abundance? Like we begin to think so much in the shortage mindset of feeling like I have to have one thing or another. You know, there's some people who say like, okay, well, I can't be married and have a successful business, or I can't, give me another example. Y'all give me an example, right? Of where we kind of say, okay, I can't have it all in this area if I'm have it all in this area. And Grant is coming to challenge us and say, you know what? You can have it all. And he says, I believe in you being able to have it all. So let me go ahead and talk to you about it. Yes, the slightest edge. Okay, so he says, you don't have to sacrifice in one area to have another. You don't. You can literally have it all. These type of people think in terms of shortages. When we stop putting limits on what's available, those are the successful people. The people who stop putting limits on what is available to us. Like we can truly, again, I often quote the scriptures when I'm talking to you guys, especially in this topic, that God can do exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or think according to the power that worketh within us, right? So if we have the power and God is on our behalf and anything is possible with God, why do we feel like we have to struggle in one area but not be able to have it in the other if he can do exceedingly abundantly? If we feel like, you know, God is going to make us the head and not the tail, like why would he make us successful in one area but then make us be miserable in the other? Like God can give all of it to us if we are open to his infinite wisdom and then we follow through with what it is that we need to be doing, right? Okay, so the next thing here is just stop putting, I'm going to say it again actually, it's not necessarily the next thing, but stop putting limits on what is available to you. Like stop thinking that you can't be married and work at the same time. Stop thinking that you can't make a good income and serve God at the same time. Like God isn't telling you that you have to be poor. He does say that the poor will be with us always, yes, but that doesn't mean the poor is going to be you, right? So you can have it if you want it, okay? All right, now the next thing is successful people attain what you want or what they want in quantities so great that no one can take it away. Like I even think about, because especially, you know, I have people who come on here and they know that I love the Lord, right? So let's talk about Joseph for a second. Joseph knew that they were about to go into the famine, right? He had the dreams And so during the 7 years where they had an abundance, they weren't wasteful, right? They were preparing for the challenging times in our lives. And we've already talked about the mediocre mindset is the mindset where we only do the average activity. We only do what's normal for us to do. And when we do that, though, it ends up diminishing what we have created, or the success that we have created, because it will not be able to sustain challenging times. So in the times where Joseph knew that there was going to be a famine in the land, that's when he had everybody start bringing more for the storehouse, more to be stored up in preparation for the 7 years of famine, so that they had an abundance. And people from all over ended up coming to where Joseph was so that they could get resources from them, right? So going back to this point, that successful people, they don't think in terms of shortage. They don't think in terms of, oh, well, I can't have or I can't do. They think about, how can I create more success? How can I create more of it that it is that I desire? And so because of that, that country, Joseph and the country, were able to save lives. They were able to sustain. They were able to live and not feel the struggle that many others were feeling, because not only did they get focused on their goals, but they enrolled others into the vision, and they created the success that they need, so that they had quantities that would allow them to have success even in the midst of a challenging time. We have challenging times in our lives, and most of us are not able to sustain them. We have a flat tire and it's over. Like, life is done. We can't pay our rent, our light bills get cut, our lights get cut off, right? Or we just go into stress because we don't know how we're going to use the car because we don't have any gas to get to work, right? Like, everything just begins to go haywire in our lives. So we have to learn, if we want to be successful, how to create quantities of whatever it is, whatever our goal is, so that nobody can take it away. And again, this is spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, with your family, in your business. Like, you need to figure out how you create such a wonderful family life that when somebody tries to come in and tear your family apart, it just won't work. Why? Because you have created such love in that family, such quantities of love in your family, that nobody can come and be that much of a distraction or be that much of a troublemaker that they are going to ruin your family. Okay, so the next thing is, how can a person consider himself successful if they're not happy? How can a person consider themselves successful if they're not happy? And we can see this all the time, especially in the mainstream world. Like, we can look at music artists and things who have achieved a whole bunch of money, yet they're not happy. They end up committing suicide. They're addicted to drugs, or maybe they're addicted to medications and they're committing suicide and they're overdosing because there is something that is missing in their life. So when I'm talking about success, I can't define that for you. Grant can't define that for you. You are defining what your goals are. You are defining your priorities. You are defining what success means to you, okay? But success is not being in a place where you're doing all of this work, but yet you're still not happy with what it is that you are doing. Because we've already talked about, we should be walking in our purpose. We should be walking in our calling. And when we're walking in our purpose and in our calling, then there is something about fulfillment that comes about us, right? It's like this, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, so now he says, what happiness is there in being unable to pay the bills or provide for your family or worry about your future? Like, what happiness is there in that? If you can't pay your bills, you can't provide for your family, you're always worried about your future, what happiness is there in that? And too many of us do this and have been doing this for too many years of our lives. And it's time out for that. It is time to begin to apply the 10X rule. It's time to begin to apply the word that you read about, that you've listened to to your life so that you can actually live the life that you truly do love. So he says, the moment you achieve one goal you've set for yourself, it's time to establish a new target. The moment that you achieve one goal for yourself, you have to set the next one, okay? This is part of the 10X rule. Don't stop. Don't get complacent. Don't retreat back and trying to live off of your past successes. No, you need to start looking forward towards your future successes, okay? He says, quit thinking in terms of either or and start thinking in terms of all and everything. Like, stop thinking I can only have this or I can have this. You can do this or either you can do this. No, he's like, no, you can have that, you can have that, and you can have it all. You can have it all. You can be spiritually strong. You can have a healthy family. You can have healthy relationships. You can have good finances. You can have a strong business. You can have all of it, and you don't have to compromise in other areas. And we're going to dive more into how you can make that happen based off of what Grant Cardone in the book, The 10X Rule, is talking about, okay? So he says, people ask if I ever rest. And he's like, of course I do. And it's funny because I get asked that same question too, because they're like, you're on these lives and then we see you posting and then you're here and then of course we sleep. We're not robots, right? But we just know how much time we have available to us. We know that we have 24 hours in the day, and we have set our priorities to know what it is that we want to focus on and how much time we need to commit to that in order for us to get the results that it is that we desire. And so he just says, you know, let me get to it. He says, but I'm also aware of the time I have available to me, what my priorities are, and that it's my duty, obligation, and responsibility to go after them in the time that I have. Some of us have goals, but instead of using the time that you have, you're complaining about the time that you feel like you don't have, when in actuality, if you would sit down and look at where you're spending your time and how much time you're spending doing what you're doing, you will find that you are not doing the activities that are helping you to create success. So what he says is to keep track of your time. Most people don't know what they do and where they're do with their time, but complain they don't have any. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. I don't have time. You have time. You have time. Think about someone who is successful that, you know, is an inspiration to you, whatever your level of success is. And then I want you to research how is it that they have been able to achieve what they have achieved. And you will be able to see that if they can do it, because they are human just like me and you are, that you can do it. There was a guy, I can't even think of his name now, maybe y'all know, but he just sent the car, the Tesla, into space. Like, there is a car in the spaceship and it's going into space right now. Like, what is my point in saying that? My point in saying that is this: if there is this man who can figure out how to get a car up into the air, that took some time. So whatever your goal is, whether it's to put a car into a spaceship and to send it out of space, you can figure out how to pay your bills, how to take care of your family, how to be successful in your business, how to create new ideas and new innovations, right? So that you can achieve and have the level of success that it is that you desire. Stop thinking so small. Stop thinking in shortages. It can happen for you. You know, I just even listened to some of the terminology and thinking about the terminology that I heard today. You know, people are like, you know, in fact, it was about the Constitution. And they were like, you know, you can change the Constitution. It's going to be a slow process and it may not ever happen. It's like, as soon as you said something, you already began to talk down about it. But if you want it to happen, though, it can absolutely happen. And that's how you have to think about it. You have to understand that it can happen and that you just have to increase what it is that you are doing. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, the next thing that we are going to talk about, next point. I had to make sure that wasn't my teen out here. That's why I had to stop and look like, is that you? Okay. Where are we at here? Okay, going back to the point that we all have the same hours. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so I want to read something out of the book. And if you have the book, I'm reading it on page 123. So this is just the breakdown of hours. So as I'm saying, you know, you have these people who have these great goals and they're doing amazing things, and we have the same amount of time that they're able to do it, and they might be married and they have children and they go to church and they have a relationship with God, and then they're also doing these other things to follow other goals and dreams as well. Like, we have to stop limiting ourselves saying I don't have the time. So he says every single person has 168 hours in a week, and based on a typical 40-hour work week, the average U.S. employee is only productive 37.5 of those 168 hours. 30 minutes for lunch each day. And it's pretty unlikely that most people actually work this entire 37.5 hours. I know when I was working a 9 to 5, I did not work all of my hours. I'm sure that I am not the only one who did not work all of my hours, or maybe you do not work all of your hours while you're at work. How much time do you spend on social media just scrolling through when you're supposed to be doing something at work? Just think about it. And as we said, track and log what activity you're doing. So if you're at work, don't just put I was at work from 9 to 5. No, what were you doing like every second, every minute? Like, I was on Facebook from 9 p.m. to 10:15. Like, put that down, because you have to understand where your time is. You have to understand where you're wasting time so that you can understand where you have time available. So we're talking about the myth of time management, right? Okay, so let me jump back in here. In fact, the average individual spends 22.3% of his or her time, or her available time, at work, 33.3% asleep, and then 16.6% in front of a TV or online. And those comparisons assume that the person spends 100% of his or her time at work actually working. Then these very same people worry about balance and time management. But an imbalance is always going to occur when you don't do enough with the time that you have. Okay, so the point that he is trying to make here is that you end up having the imbalances in your life, not because you don't have enough time, but because you're not doing what you need to do with the time that you have. So what if you really began to do something with the time that you had? What if you were productive? What if you came through and said, you know what? I am going to focus my time on the things that are going to help me to create success. And good evening to everyone who's hopping on. Okay, what am I going to be doing with my time to help me to create success? Because again, you can go back and, thank you, Waylon, you can go back and see where you're wasting your time at. All right, so now, if anyone has a chance to read about his history, very inspiring. Man, I mean, just even the concept, there was a point in time where I pretty much felt like that type of stuff would only happen in the Jetsons, right? Where we're flying off into space and doing all this. But the thing is there are people actually out here who are making it happen, and we can't figure out how to increase $100 and make it into something for us. We can't figure out how to take $60,000 for the year and pay our bills. Like we make things that are simple very complex. What are we doing with our lives, everyone? What are you doing with your life? I don't care if you make $32,000 a year. Why are you making something so simple, so complex in your life? Okay, so now the next point we go on to is to really understand, maximize, and squeeze every opportunity out of the time that you have. You have to fully understand and appreciate what is available to you. Okay? Take control of your time and don't allow others to do so. So listen to people talk about time, and most of them are complaining, right? So he says, when you hear people talking about work, what do they say? When you hear them talk about going to work, what do people say about work? I'm sorry, there is something in my eye. Most of them are saying, I've been at work all day. No, you haven't been at work all day. That's not true, right? Most people are really just looking at work as something to get through versus looking at work as what it really is. Right, Catherine? They're absolutely complaining. So most only work enough so it feels like work, whereas a successful person is going to work at a pace that gets such satisfying results that work is a reward. Okay? So are you at work, for those of you who work 9 to 5s, are you at work looking at it like, oh my gosh, I just need to get through this day. If I can just get through today, honey, listen, I'm going to go home and I'm going to get in my bed and I'm going to eat some food and I'm going to relax and I'm going to go to sleep. Hey, what's going on, Brian? Right? So which person are you? Are you that person? Or are you the person who says, you know what, I am going to go to work and I'm going to give work my all, because I don't want work to feel like something that I'm just kind of getting through, but I want it to be that I am actually feeling like it's a reward for me to go to work. Because the more that you actually go to work and you put excellent time in, you put in your excellent skills, the better it's going to become from you, because you're going to be able to actually see the fruit of your labor. That your boss is going to begin to recognize you. You'll be employee of the month. You're going to get that raise. You'll get that bonus. Maybe, you know, you'll get the promotion. Whatever it is, you're not going to do that being average. And you're definitely not going to enjoy it, even if you do, because you're only going to work to kind of get through. You know, there are certain things that we can do. We just kind of skate by because we're skilled at it, because we're good at what we do, but we're not really putting in the work to get it done. We're not even challenging ourselves. And so you're the average person. You're the mediocre mindset. So you can't allow yourself to be in that place. You just can't, because it's not going to allow you to be happy. It's not going to allow you to have a 10x reality of being able to create an abundance of success in whatever area of your life it is that you are working on. Change your job. Absolutely. Absolutely change your job. That's why when people come to me and they're really excited about a new job that they've gotten, I don't get excited right away, because I don't want people to feel like just because you got a job, like that was the end all be all. Like, is that job in align with your purpose? Is that job in align with your goals? Because if not, I already know that the way that you were complaining about the job that you had before, you're going to be complaining about this job soon. See, we get into this euphoria when we first get these jobs and we're like, oh, I got this job and it's a pay increase. And, you know, everybody's great the first couple weeks that you're on there most times, right? On the new job. But let them get a chance to get to know you, or you get to know them, or you really get into the way of work. And you're going to get to see the true colors, and then you're stuck at work and things aren't going the way that you desire, and they're not appreciating your work the way that you want them to, and all of a sudden you are back in that same circle. But if you go to work and it's a part of your align with your passion and your goals, and you're learning something and you're applying something and you're adding value to it, your world will be changed, because you're going to begin to see rewards. So I challenge you all. No, don't get up and go quit tomorrow. Make a plan, okay? But you need to make sure that you are in fields and doing jobs that are helping you to live out your purpose, to live out your calling. If you truly even want to have a happy 10x rule life, okay? All right, so the next point that he says is truly successful people don't call it work, they call it passion. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about doing X, Y, and Z. So even when those challenges, when you come up against challenges and opposition, it's not like, okay, well, I just absolutely hate it, I can't stand it. No, you turn that problem into a solution. You're looking for, how can I solve it? How can I make it better? Like, in fact, it almost excites you when you come up into things that are challenging you, because it's making you go to a higher level. It's making you think at a different level. It's making you be able to create something that is going to be able to help others through the situation. It's mediocre people. It's the people who retreat. It's the people who don't want to do anything that begin to complain, and that just, they complain they don't do anything, flat out, right? Okay, so the next thing, he says, if you want to achieve balance, work harder. Don't leave with more time, or it won't leave you with more time, but it will allow you to experience the rewards of your job and make it feel like less work and more like success. So we already kind of talked about that point. Like if you're on your job, do more work. Stop sitting at your desk like how I was back in the day. Lean back, looking up at the ceiling, wondering when the day was going to be over and when I could get back in my car and make that commute back home. Like that was what I lived for, going home. I was done. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to drive there. I didn't want to sit there, you know, and it was one of those things too where the women really didn't even like me, who I was working with, and I'm their manager, and then just having to figure out like how to get these little nasty attitude women to like me. But I wasn't even so sold on what the goal was that we were doing, that it was just kind of like I got burnt out. Like, why am I trying to sit here and make you like me, and you don't want to like me, and I don't really care about what we're doing? And you're going to find that. So maybe another idea might be for you is to go figure out what your company vision and mission is, and see where you line up in that and where you really see yourself in the company. Because it may be that you are supposed to be working for the company that you are with, but you just haven't been able to identify how your passion and how your purpose is aligning with that company, because you are being average in your work. You are being average in your thinking. So instead of thinking about how you can move up the ladder and be in management, you know, maybe you're just in the call center. I've told you all before that I have a friend, an associate, who she started out in the company that she is with as a temp in the call center, but she knew what she wanted to do. She knew what she had a passion for. She knew what her niche was. And so now she has worked her way up to upper management, and she absolutely loves her job. And that's what it should be. Like, if you are in a place that you want to be and you know what you want to do, then you have to work to get there. That's the 10X rule. 10 times more effort, 10 times more thought, so that you can achieve 10 times more in your life that it is that you desire. And not only what you desire, but it can help you to be prepared in times of challenges and opposition, which many of us are not prepared for. So like I said earlier, just one flat tire, and most people are away from bankruptcy. If you have one flat tire away from bankruptcy, and so when you have that flat tire, you're completely screwed up. You're like, can I borrow some money? I don't have money to do this. I don't have money to do, I don't have money to pay my bills. I can't eat. I don't know where I'm going to be able to get diapers for my child, right? That should not be the way that life is. And we've talked about shortages, right? Shortages in jobs. There's no shortage in anything. We can create our own jobs. We can create positions. And even when you think about the unemployment rate, if the unemployment rate, even if it's a 30%, yeah, we don't like it to be that, but guess what? Sometimes it gets there. But if it's 30% unemployment, that means 70% is employed. So where is the shortage? The shortage is not in employment, okay? So I just want you all to follow along with me on this. So even if you get fired from your job, somebody is downsizing, that doesn't mean that there is a shortage in opportunity for you. You just have to be willing to think more about what it is that you are going to do. You have to be able to put in more effort 10 times so that you can have the life that you love. Okay, so now the next point, manage time and seek balance. So if you're wanting to manage time and seek balance, then you need to decide what is important to you. In which areas do you want to achieve success, and in what quantities? Do you know what areas you want to even be successful in? And have you identified that and been very specific with it? If not, you need to do so. He says, write down in order of importance what it is that you want to achieve success in and what quantities. He says, then determine the total time you have available and decide where you are going to allot time to each of these endeavors. So we've already said, look at keep a log of your time and what you're doing with each second. Not just I went to work, but I ate lunch and I took 2 hours, and then I took a nap for 3 hours, and then I got on Facebook for 4 hours, and then I went to sleep for 10 hours, right? So like literally writing down what you're doing every moment. And so now you can identify where you are wasting time in your life, precious time. And so now you can go back and say, these are the areas, this is the time frame that I have to work on my goals. So now you cut out that wasteful time, and now you replace it with the activities that are going to create success. And the example that I used earlier is if you are in business, then you want to utilize income producing activities if you want to create revenue in your business. Like, don't just come to work and say, okay, well, I opened the door and I turned on the light, so people should have come in and bought from me. No, you have to market. You have to pick up the phone and call someone. You have to send a message. Those are your income producing activities. You have to ask for the sale. So whatever it is, that is just an example. So whatever it is, you identify where your wasteful time is, identify what your priorities are, and in what quantities you want, and then you have to determine what time are you going to set aside so that you can then work on your goals and dedicate that time, commit that time to working on what it is that you desire. Okay, so the next point, hold on, that messed it up. What am I doing here? 1 second, y'all. I don't know what I did, and now the lights are all in my face. I don't want them to be in my face. I don't know what I did. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me see here. Nope, not that. Maybe it was that one. Nope, not that one. I don't know. Okay, maybe I just cleaned it off, and now they're like daggers in my face, y'all. Help me out. What do I do? Where do I go? Okay, next point. Log how you are spending your time daily. We talked about that. But then even after you've identified what your priorities are, right, you need to come back and say, this is where I'm spending my time. Because you have to continue to make sure and keep yourself in check. So we're talking about managing your time and how do you balance your time so that you can find success. This is how you do it. You have to make sure that you are on top of where you are spending your time and what time you have available to you, okay? All right, so see how you waste time, habits and activities that are in no way contribute to your success. So that's another good point, is that we have to identify the habits that are not allowing us to get to where we want to be, okay? So we have to get rid of the habits and activities that in no way contribute to your success. So we talked about the other day that we have to let it burn, like put so much wood in your fire that it causes people to come out and look at you and say, what is she doing? Like, what is all this noise that she's making? Like, it is so big that not even your competitors can stay away. Like, they're coming out and they're trying to figure out, what is this person doing, right? We just have to see it for ourselves. How much wood are you adding to your fire? So are you adding wood to your fire, or are you dampening it with activities and habits that are in no way contributing to your success in whatever area of your life that you're trying to achieve success in? And remember, success is your own definition. It is not mine. It is not Grant's. But all we are encouraging, or all Grant is encouraging us to do, is whatever your goal is increase it by 10, and then put in 10 times more effort and 10 times more thought in order to achieve that goal, so that you can have what you desire, and then you can have 10 times more of a life that you desire, and be able to come up against challenges and win. You have challenges and you victorious. Okay, so let's see here. Now, he goes on to say that priorities will change throughout life, okay? But when those priorities change in your life, then you need to make sure that you are being solution oriented and not saying, okay, well, this has changed and so now I just can't do it. right? It could be a parent got sick, and so now you have to take care of that parent. But instead of being like, okay, well, I can't do it because I have to take care of this parent, now you have to be solution oriented. You have to figure out, how am I going to make it all work at the same time? For Grant, he was saying that at one point of time, he didn't have any children. And so people would say to him, well, you don't understand because you don't have any children and you don't have to figure out how to do all of this stuff. Well, recently, when he wrote this book, he had a daughter. Him and his wife had a daughter. And he was saying, you know, instead of allowing his daughter to be an excuse on why he was not accomplishing things, he allowed it to be his motivation. And so, and we've talked about this before. I think it was on a different book discussion, because it was just my personal view of stop allowing things that are supposed to be your why to stop you and be a distraction. And so Grant is just essentially saying, like, instead of being like, okay, well, I can't because of my daughter, he's like, no, this is why I'm going harder, because of my daughter, because I don't want her to struggle, because I don't want her to have to go through the things that I went through in my life. And so I'm going to have better resources to teach her. I'm going to have better resources to be able to provide for her. And many of us are like, well, I can't do it because I have this child, and this child is such a burden in my life. And every time I put food in the pantry, they come and they eat it. And I don't have any more money for food because they eat everything in the house. And then they want me to put them through private school. And we're looking at all of these reasons and problems with having a child versus looking at, and of course, y'all can, like I said, come back and check me because I don't have any kids. So y'all remind me of this talk, right? Hold me accountable. But this is what Grant was saying happened for him. He was like, you know, me and my wife had to come back through and really just rearrange the schedule and figure out how we could control our time with the change in priority in our life. How could we still be in control and not have our time manage us, but we can control our time? That's how you need to be in your life, that you are to a point where you control your time and time is not managing you, okay? So, and that really goes into, oh, what does he say? Solution based on priorities. Now he works harder. Work harder. Work smarter, okay? Control your time, not haphazardly manage it. Set priorities and commit to a solution. Lets you be a boss of your own time. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Set priorities and commit to a solution that will allow you to be a boss of your own time. Some of us are out here like, yeah, we a boss, but you don't even have control of your time. Like you're not even doing what you need to do because you're wasting it everywhere, okay? So if you start with a commitment to success and then agree to control time, you will create an agenda that accommodates all that you want. I'm sorry, I'm like stumbling over these words. So hopefully you got the main point out of that. Okay? So essentially commit to a plan and plan out your time where you can then plan your life around it. So for example, Grant said that with his daughter, he gets up an hour earlier, wakes his daughter up, gets her ready, spends time with her. He wakes her up so early that then she can go to bed at 7 o'clock at night. And with her going to bed at 7 o'clock at night, now him and his wife have more time to spend together as a couple. And during the day, he has time then to focus on business because he has spent time with his daughter. They have time set aside to spend with his wife later. And business is happening in between and whatever else he needs to get done. And then, of course, the daughter is either with his wife or at school in daycare, childcare, whatever, right? So these are the things that we begin to do of how we take control of our lives. So maybe you need to wake up earlier. Maybe you want to work out and get healthy and get fit. So you need to wake up an hour earlier and go to the gym. Wake up 30 minutes earlier and make breakfast. You know, you just have to take control. Stop saying, well, I don't have time. I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to read a book. I don't have time. You have time. You have time to make dinner. You have time to do meal preparations. You have time to spend with your kids. You got time to work on your business. You have time to work on your goals. But you have to stop thinking in a shortage place. You have to take control of your time by identifying where you're wasting it and then replace the wasted time with productive time. Replace it with activities that are going to create success in your life. So decide how you'll use your time. Command, control, and squeeze every second. Get people in your life to recognize and agree upon which priorities are most important. So this is a good point that Grant is saying, is that when you have decided what your priorities are in your life, everybody who is around you needs to know what your priorities are. So that way they can get in line with it and not be a distraction. Or you'll be able to easily identify those people who are on your side and those who are not. Because those who are on your side, they're going to respect what your priorities are. They're going to get in line. It's like, okay, cool. If you want to get up every morning at 5 a.m. with your daughter, then I'm not going to call you and schedule an appointment with you. That's just an example, right? Most of us are not getting up for appointments at 5 a.m. You might be getting ready for work, but you're not setting an appointment. Okay? But maybe you have to get up at 5 a.m. to go work out. Or maybe you have to get up at 5 a.m. to do whatever. But those people who know what your priorities are, they aren't going to discourage you from doing that. They're going to get on board and they're going to say, okay, well, you know what? Well, I'm trying to get fit too, so I'll work out with you at 5 a.m. as well. Or if these are what the business goals are. So for instance, my leaders, they set out a plan and said, hey, this is something that we can all do. It's the basis of business. It's going to help us grow. We focus on it. We're going to see our business begin to expand and grow. And so I'm like, okay, let's do it. So now they've given me what the priorities are. Now I've given my team the priorities, and now we're seeing an increase in business. Why? Because they set the priorities, and I got in position, and I got on in alignment, and then I got my team in alignment. Maybe that's what you need to do with your family. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do for family time. And everybody in the family gets in line and says, hey, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., we are going to spend family time together. And this is how you build your family relationships. And don't let it just be movie time and TV time, but do things that are going to engage you in interactive activity so that you can actually feel like you know your family. Some of us have family and family is around, but we don't even really know our family. Like, we're just there. Okay? So make sure that that's your goal, to really do things that are going to help you get you closer to what it is that you desire, and not just going through motions, right? Because if you're just going through the motions and wanting to really get to know your family, but all you're doing is watching a movie, well, you have no idea what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling and what it is that I like and what it is that I desire, because we're only sitting here watching a movie together, right? Okay, so he says, decide how you'll use your time, command and control. Okay, no, I already read that. So in closing, let me read the last chapter, or the last paragraph, not the whole last chapter. But the next point, and then I'm going to read the last paragraph. So he says, work should provide a purpose, a mission, and a sense of accomplishment. So yeah, there's some other stuff in between. Get the book if you want to know what all the other stuff was in between. But work should provide a purpose, a mission, and a sense of accomplishment. These things are vital to every single person's mental, emotional, and physical well-being. People who promote the new age advice of take it slow are encouraging a mindset that isn't doing anyone any good. Consider the types of traits this thinking has created in people: laziness, procrastination, a lack of urgency, sloth, a tendency to blame others, irresponsibility, entitlement, and the expectation that it's up to someone else to solve our problems. It is not up to someone else to solve our problems. It is up to you to solve your problem. And if somebody wants to help you along the way, great. But if not, you are in control. You dominate your life. You need to be the one who is a force to be reckoned with. Okay? So then he goes on to say, wake up. No one is going to save you. No one is going to take care of your family or your retirement. No one is going to make things work for you. The only way to do it is to utilize every moment of every day at 10x levels. This will ensure you to accomplish your goals and dreams. Happiness, security, confidence, and fulfillment come from utilizing your gifts and your energy to achieve whatever you've decided is success for you. And it requires every bit of your time, which is yours, and only yours to control. So guys, make sure that you're really living out this 10X rule. Make sure you go back and you are identifying where you are wasting time. Identify where you can be working towards creating success in your life. Okay, so, all right, guys, I'm swiped it over because I didn't want to be distracted. Let me go back here real quick. Yes, Kenneth, is no problem. Okay, so I'll go back and respond, but make sure you drop a 1 if you are catching this live with me. Drop a 2 if you're catching this on replay. Share this video if you want to be a part of the weekly drawing. Guys, who was the winner tonight? I mixed in my little paper. Nope, that wasn't it. I have to go back and find the winner of the drawing tonight, but congratulations, I'll let you know. I don't know, I mixed it right back in. That's horrible. Okay. What's the name of the book? The name of the book is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Okay, let me go back through. Wilbert, she didn't. No, I didn't. Okay, so Wilbert, what was the question? About the charger. What percentage you on? Fully charged? Actually, I'm not fully charged, but I'm good. Like, we made it through. And I wasn't worried. I think I started at, well, I'll tell you what I'm at now. I'm at 16% right now. All right, where are we at? Was that the question, Wilbert, about the charger? What percentage was I at? All right. You're welcome, Cortland. Okay, guys. All right, so I will be back tomorrow night, somewhere between 10 and 12. So, yeah. That's it. That's all I got. So I'm Camille, Aiko. I hope that you all are living the life that you love, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. Good night, everybody.